For this week's Weird Science, we have quite the concoctions. We're going to need some rubbing alcohol, olive oil, light corn syrup, honey, a dish soap that's colored blue or green, so you could use Dawn perhaps, or Palmolive, some water, and as we discuss molecules, having marbles handy will do the trick as well. You'll also need a tall, clear container. I have this tall, kind of mason jar type container. And we're going to work some magic with liquid density. Before we get started with some sciencey stuff with a rainbow jar of different colored liquids, I want to be able to explain the science behind this. I've taken two very alike containers and I put, I don't know, like 7 marbles in one and all the rest into the other. Now, what I'd like you to think about is which one of these is heavier? If you said this one, you're correct, obviously, because there's more marbles in it. What I'd like you to think about as we do our density testing and create our rainbow jar of liquids is that molecules are these little teeny tiny things and they're made up in everything. And some of these liquids have a few molecules in them where others have lots of molecules in them. This will be important as we keep going with our Weird Science episode with density of liquids and create a rainbow jar of liquids. Each of the layers will be determined by the number of molecules that are contained within. First up, we're going to pour honey first. What we're going to do is try to make sure that we pour the honey right in the middle of the container as to not touch the sides. This is important because we don't want to mess with any of the layers that we will be putting into the jar. Next, I poured the contents of this light corn syrup into a container because I'm going to make this colored purple. Now I have red food coloring and I have blue food coloring, so I'm just going to drop equal amounts of red and blue because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-ish. What does red and blue make, friends? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, because red and blue, as some friends behind me are saying, make purple. So we're going to go ahead and stir this right on up to make it nice and bright. Kind of looks like a real deep blue. All right, so through the magic of recording, we'll pause for a second and we'll stir this up. Okay, as promised, we mixed our blue and red food coloring in. And look at how gorgeous that is. And again, we're going to try and make sure that we go right in the middle of the jar because we don't want to disturb the fun with the molecules and layering this. So try not to get it on the sides of the jar. Oh, I love that purple. It's gorgeous. Okay. Let's take a peek and see what that looks like. Ooh, I had to twist it a little bit because it's drippy. Okay, so far, kind of looks like we're still keeping with the honey on the bottom and the purpley color is there. All right. Now, remember what we said. The more marbles, aka molecules in the liquid, the heavier it is, right? So far, what are we thinking? Can you tell? I can really, actually, down at this angle, I can see a good separation of the honey and then the purple colored corn syrup. Next up, our blue, which is our dish soap. Next up, the Dawn soap for our blue layer. Again, in the middle, pouring a pretty hefty helping, if you will. And I'm trying to watch the video as I'm trying to make sure I only go in the middle. Let's see. Really carefully trying to pour it. You see it oozing down? Okay. Maybe one more squirt of it because this is a pretty big container of the soap. And next up, we're going to color some water green. Before I move to the next step, I wanted to be sure to give you a quick sneak peek at my layers here. Starting to see the different liquids definitely have different densities, don't they? And what did we discover? Molecules, which are kind of what we explained in the beginning, were the marbles. If there was a lot more molecules in the liquid, then it's heavier, right? And what do we know about gravity? Things that are heavy go down to the bottom. Okay, next up, I'm going to give a shot at coloring my water green. I think that was around 10 drops of food coloring. I'm going to use my dropper here to just kind of stir it up a little bit. There we go. And same as always, we're going to dump that right into the middle. Here we go. Of the container. Very carefully. You can see I'm dripping a little bit off the sides of the outside of the container, so that's okay. Okay. Woo! Little mess over here. Oh boy. Just gonna take care of that. And let's see what happens here. Are the layers starting to separate out? Kind of looks a little foamy, and I think that might be because I had the soap in there first. So we'll have to wait and see if those separate out into the different layers. So it'll be kind of a little bit of a waiting game, I think. Next up, the olive oil. Again, down the middle, not on the sides. And I am a little concerned with what happened after we did the water, but as I'm starting to pour this oil in, I am noticing something happening. Anyone else see what's happening? Starting to see the separation, aren't we? It's so cool. It almost looks like it's glistening gold right now. Very cool. All right, friends. Last up is going to be our rubbing alcohol, which will be a different set of directions altogether, so stay tuned. For our next step, remember I said it was going to be a little trickier instructions. For all the other liquids, we put them right down the middle. With this, you're going to need a dropper. But first, we're going to want the red for our final color of our kind of rainbow, right? So we can see all the different layers. So let's color this one red. Put a bunch of drops in there. I think we're going to go really vibrant with this. There we go. Okay, awesome. And I know there's a lot of concern here to make sure that you're going to be grabbing and inserting not in the middle for this one with the rubbing alcohol. Instead, you're going to put the dropper along this edge or the side of the inside of the container and let it kind of slowly leak in. And this is just so that it doesn't separate out the layers. Now this process is going to take a little bit of patience. We're going to do it several times. My dropper only holds so much, but this is a part of the fun. Again, along the side of the jar because we don't want to mess up the layers. Okay, we're going to keep on going with this and I'll show you the results. I wanted to take a second to chime in here that if you are not careful about dropping it along the side, which was different than all the other liquids with this step with the rubbing alcohol, because what will happen is what you're starting to see here is it's penetrating the oil layer and it's starting to turn purple rather than staying that red color. And we don't want to break that oil seal, which was the yellow part that you're seeing there. And I wanted you to see all the different layers that we have so far. Pretty cool. We have our rainbow liquids. I'm going to keep going so we can get a nice pronounced red layer. I'm still adding to the red rubbing alcohol layer, but I wanted to show you how cool this is looking right now. The other thing that I want to be able to do is let this sit for several hours so that all the layers are more pronounced. Very cool. So as I wrap up our rainbow in a jar, learning about density of liquids, I decided to put a flashlight behind here so you can really see the layers. Can you see them? Pretty cool. And that's it, folks. Weird science, rainbow liquids. Try it. As we wrap up discovering more about the density of liquids in our rainbow combination in time for St. Patrick's Day, you can check out these books for further discovery about liquid density and more information about matter and molecules, and discovering more about how things float and why things don't float, including some more experiment ideas for further discovery. You can get these books at the Manlius Library.